Okay, so here's that BMX guy, and this is part 3 of getting the black Speedwagon ready to tour. So I rode the bike around a few times, around the city, other things. But I determined that the U-lock kind of mounts right in the rack, so I can carry that with me. I got the one Ibera bag on there. I can probably maybe put a second one on there, on this side. Just the lock will get in the way. Well, it might not get in the way. That hook is on this thing, not here. So it might actually help keep the lock more steady. It hasn't loosened, the wheel hasn't pulled up, or anything like that. There's no issues with the rear rack. The only flex I kind of feel is like right here, because that kind of can twist easy. The front end, I ordered a Swift OZ, I'm assuming. I think it's OZ. Radner bag. And it goes right on here. It uses the thing that comes with this that slides into where these holes are, these poles, and the back of it kind of slides around this whole thing. The OZ is the taller bag, and it comes in black, so I don't have to really worry about the color. As far as water bottle holders, well, the water bottle holder I usually put in the seat post. That doesn't really fit unless I put it forward. But there's these little, I don't know, they're kind of made by Kimimoto. They kind of seem like this thing, in the sense that they hold a water bottle in a round mesh thing. I've seen somebody use one that delivers compost or picks up compost. And even my girlfriend has one on her bike, and she just uses it for sunglasses and her phone and other things. But if I get 2 of those guys and mount them somewhere, I'll have water bottle holders. Or that I can put a water bottle cage, like one of these, and bolt it to the bag on both sides. You can also maybe get ones that go here. There are ones that actually mount around the fork, since I got all that area to work with. I guess these holes can be for more panniers on the front, but I don't know. Supposedly it can only hold about 14 pounds, and the idea is that the front bag will be food, drinks, just stuff that's not heavy. The rear, it'll be, that bag will have clothes, some tools like the air pump. I do have a frame pump that hooks the water bottle cages. I was going to figure out a way to maybe get it to sit in this dead space right here, because this dead space, I can definitely get a bag to sit inside. Bike Friday did make a bag that goes underneath their racks, and maybe I'll get one of those, and I'll use that under bag as sort of like the tool bag, where I just bring the tools that are needed for the bike, like 4, 5, 6, 8, maybe a tire lever or 2, which I was kind of hoping to use the fatter Marathon Pluses if I do the Pittsburgh to DC trail, which are these guys. I don't have to use the wide rims. I can just still use the skinny CR18s, but the wide rims with these tires make it so they come right off without really needing tire levers. The nice thing about the bigger tires is that you can find tubes for these at a Walmart, Kmart, Canadian Tire, any places that are just a normal department store will have a 20-inch by 175 tube that fits in this. Unlike the skinny 1.25, 1.35, or 35 millimeter tubes that are Presto valve. The air pump that I'm going to bring with me is just going to be a hand pump that works with Schrader, and I'll just use the adapter if I have to use it with the Presto valves. For the first trip, it's going to be at Scion Lake in New Jersey, right north of Hamilton. So it's going to be a pretty smooth route there. So I don't need big tires because it's not going to be gravel. But when it comes time to go to that DC to Pittsburgh or vice versa trail, I want to use these bigger tires that I have on one of my other bikes. I obviously don't really want to use the skinny Duranos, just because they're more likely to pinch flat. And that's the other reason why I like the bigger tires. You don't need that much air in them to keep them from pinch flatting on just any small rock or bump. And if I do use this rear wheel, I'd have to like lace maybe the front wheel to another one of those dynamos that's a wide rim like this, so they're matching. The wide rim doesn't really make it that much stronger. I mean, I really found that the CR18 is a pretty reliable rim. When I put the rack on, I had to figure out a gear ratio to get the chain to line up good where it's not too far back, or put it this way, not too far back to where the brake doesn't work. So what I did is, instead of just putting a half link on the chain, which I could have done to keep it with a 42, I put this 44 tooth Surly ring. I've been using Surly rings on all my bikes on the front. Like I even tried other things like this profile lead on the Chrome Speedwagon. I even had it on the 125R for maybe one trip. The thing I don't like about it is that there's just way too much offset. Like it puts it either too far in or too far the other way, and you gotta still shim it to the standard just to keep this part of the ring hidden from hitting the frame. Even with a dimple, it's still kind of very close. With this frame, it was able to be mounted this way, which I can always put this on there, but I'd just rather have the 5-volt stainless steel. I know it's going to last a while. That chamber rig there has to be, going to say I had it since 2015. No, I might have had it before that. I might have had it since 2014 or even 13. I might have had it since I had it on there, on that Pro XL, when I had it actually as the road bike instead of the Speedwagon when I got that one. Stainless steel chain rings, steel in general chain rings, last forever in this case. The 42 that was on it was Surly also. This is a brand new profile cog, and they kind of last a little while. They give me 300 or 400 miles. I don't really like using them because of that, because the teeth start squishing and making noise. But I can change the rear driver to work with the Surly rear cogs, like I did with the other bike. I know what I did with Surly cogs. But the Surly cogs that I have, this one I obviously didn't use, but this is a 13 tooth. The less teeth you have, the more the teeth wear. And since it's on an oddball number, an odd number, you kind of make the chain rub on every tooth. If it's even, it kind of keeps rubbing on every other tooth on the inside links because they're even. But there was a time that I wanted to use a lathe and maybe mill down this profile driver right here. This is a 6-speed profile driver, this titanium. I was going to try to get maybe Furf Wilson or somebody like that in Philly to maybe cut this shorter, thread the outside, and make it so it works with the normal totem hub, because the length of the driver obviously is much longer, that it wouldn't even bolt into the frame. But if I just cut it and then mill the inside bearing a little bit, all that stuff, they have a nice titanium Shimano compatible driver, which that's what it is. And these Shimano cogs, they just last, these Surly Shimano compatible cogs last a very long time. I have the 3-speed driver on the totem that replaced this totem. This totem is still not that bad. It had a little bit of play on the axle, But sometimes I just think it's just the axle itself. Like, it's aluminum axle, it starts forging itself after a while, hitting bumps and stuff, and with the small skinny tires like these, they definitely hammer on the axle a lot faster than a big tire does. I put the steel axle inside that Madeira that you can get for them, and that thing hasn't come loose once, so far anyway. But yeah, this is one of the used Surly 14 tubes, and I believe there's about, I don't know, I'm gonna say 400 miles on that one. It was used for the MS150 weekend last year. I have it on this wheel. I can always use this wheel on the rear. And in some ways, I got that other A23 right there. I can lease it to a front Shimano DX hub, like the one that's on that TNT over there. I kind of found these Shimano DX hubs to be pretty damn nice and long lasting and reliable. Yeah, you can put hollow axles on them, but I can always change it to a solid axle if, let's say, the rack starts breaking the axle in half. That's the other thing. Like, I kind of like the bolt-on hub because it has better endurance to things. Even with pegs, they don't work too bad. If you use a hollow axle with pegs, the peg creates like a leverage point that wants to break it. So basically, this whole video was just about the more things I want to talk about getting this bike touring compatible. Yeah, this is an RV I set up as a fixed geared bike. That's why I got that fixed gear hub ready. Just want to have a matching wheel set for it when the time comes. This doesn't have front or rear brakes, because fixed gear you don't need brakes. I know a lot of people just don't like my bike having front brakes, but you know, when you're going down a fast hill, and especially when you have weight, you definitely want two brakes. I don't know, it's just me. It's all personal preference. A lot of people don't like V-brakes, and V-brakes are the best working brake out there. Even compared to disc brakes, they work a lot better. I don't know, these might squeal in the front because they're so strong that they bend out the fork bosses like they do on this one. But if you use like a front rack like this, the brakes don't squeal at all because the rack's holding the mount stiff. The wheel that's on here that has this dynamo, the dynamo doesn't feel that bad. It doesn't make the bike stop or anything. The tires are very good tires. They're the Schwalbe Marathon Plus, just like the fat ones are the Schwalbe Marathon Plus. Also, they're just fat. And I think the only time I ever get flats with these tires is like when they're on the folding bike, or I'm doing a delivery and I take a batch of deliveries and I get to the first delivery of that batch, then I get a flat. So I gotta fix it for the next delivery. That seems to be how it works with that. I think I only got one flat on these tires. It was on this bike and I was doing deliveries. I normally have the coaster brake wheel that's hidden away here on the rear for winter because the brake is more consistent, and when you're riding in the rain, I just think I'd rather have a coaster brake. I got all these other rims, obviously. I can lace a whole bunch of wheels to fuck around with. I even got the damn studded tire to hope it snows, but ever since I bought it, it hasn't really snowed in Jersey or Philly. So I kind of cursed the whole snow thing with that studded tire. But yeah, these tires are very reliable, and I had no issues with them, other than there's one small issue nobody ever seems to talk about online, and that is they're not very round. When they mount in there, you can even out the bead and everything, and there's still some kind of little hop that you feel in the tire. Like the new rear tire has a little bit of a hop. I even had a tire have such a bad hop, I warrantied it with Schwalbe, and they sent me a new one. They know about the problem. It just seems like that's the only real issue with the Schwalbe tires is just that. Like there might be a bubble or a large high spot or something once you fill it up to like 50 psi. Now these skinny tires like being at least 65 on the front and 75 on the rear. I kind of like that combination because the rear tire feels really slow already, but I don't want it making me bounce around, so 75 is usually what I have even without the rack. Maybe I can add 5 more psi because the rack has weight in it, but they aren't really high pressure. And the really fat ones, they're better off just staying at 65, 60, or maybe 55, 60. Just because they just ride better like that. They don't feel like they're bouncing. There's lots of other things I'm thinking of to make it more reliable for a trip, but the thing is I don't really carry that much stuff. Yeah, I need the recharging stuff. I'll bring a battery backup, and then what I'll do is I'll just make sure the battery's fully charged when I get to my destination with this guy, because it will charge it up if you keep pedaling. It will keep charging your battery. If you use it with the phone, it kind of doesn't seem to like keep charging it. I found it, the real issue with it is that if you keep stopping and starting in the city, you barely are charging your device anyway. I can also hook it to the lights. I can recharge the headlight. I can recharge the tail light that I have mounted on the rack, like so. It's just mounted right on there. That's just the surface Thunderbolt, but that's the one that usually always has to recharge every day if I use it at all. And if I get to the destination and set up the tent, I didn't even have to use it. I don't have to charge it, just like the other one. The idea is to try to ride during the day. If I ride during the night, that's when I'm going to have to recharge these lights. And they're probably going to have to be recharged with a battery, of all things. The sine wave that cost me like $100 and something. Yeah, the Swift bag is like 200 or something. This little bag was like 50. Kind of a reasonable price for a little bag, but is it reasonable? I don't know. But I basically just have all the dongles that you need. I even got a splitter so I can charge 2 things at once, but this is type C, wherever the end is. Type C is a new Samsung one. I got a mini. The mini is for the battery. And I might use a longer one of these wires, so just sit the battery right on top of the Swift bag. Just like I'll just sit the phone on top of the Swift bag too, I guess, as I'm charging it. So it kind of is a better place to put it. The other wire is just for these. It's the USB mini, I think, versus micro. Or maybe that's micro and this one's mini. I don't know. I don't know anymore. They're just too much, I think. I am going to use the Garmin. The Garmin has to be recharged too, so at least the Garmin would be literally right here. It's going to be either mounted with its stock little rubber band thing, so I don't have to worry about anyone taking it. Rubber band thing is here. The stock rubber band thing doesn't have to be rubber bands. I can just zip tie it on there. But at least if it's here, the light is in front of it and not going to be reflecting off it. Now, the Swift bag comes with this clear cover thing that I'm probably going to maybe just take off or try to dull it or something, because the light's just going to be reflected on the stupid thing if it turn on. I don't really know if I like the light where it is. Maybe I'll put the light on something that Paul makes. It's a light mount adapter that it kind of simulates the round part that the handlebar is, and you just bolt it to like maybe one of these. But the problem is, like, it's right underneath the bag there, so I gotta figure out some other place. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I can use another one of these P clamps I used to hold this front fender on and mount the light mount like that. But then where it's at, it's kind of in a stupid spot where you're just reflecting the tire. I don't know. I just don't really know where to put the light. Other than right there. Now I can always mount the light on the side where it's just next to the bag somehow. But I don't know. Anyway, like this is just dongles that are just gonna sit in there. I have it facing this way because it just seems like a better choice than facing it the other way. The Swift bag's gonna be basically right here. And an example of the Swift bag's design is that you have your backpack pretty much mounted on the front. It's not as high as the backpack. You put the backpack sideways. It kind of simulates a little bit more. But the top of it would be it's clear plastic that you can put your map in, your phone, or whatever. And the light's basically just going to be reflecting right off that onto my face, pretty much. So I might change the top of the bag, or maybe put a flap over it. I'll just add a flap. I don't know. I'm not really sure myself. If anyone wanted to know, the fork on the front is made by Standard Bike Company. That's where I had that fork made in 2014 for the Speedwagon. That's chrome that I was using as my road bike. I changed it over to a titanium fork, so this fork went to one of the many RVs that I have. I have 3 S&M RVs. These ones came a little bit later, and I just used it on the RV for a while as the commuter. Then I got the black Speedwagon and I started using that as the commuter. I think I got the Speedwagon in 2015. So the fork has been holding up fine. Do endos on it sometimes, but the only problem is, like, yeah, you got this cable. You can't do any bar spins or nothing. I know a lot of people have to do that stuff. I don't know, but I'm just too old for that shit. It doesn't matter anymore. A lot of people give me some shit that I'm using a 20-inch bike for doing non-trick stuff. Well, forget you, whoever decides to say, oh, it's not a BMX if it has a high seat post. Well, whoever decides to give a shit, go forget yourself. Kill yourself, if anything. I don't know. What the hell's the problem with you people? Just let me do what the fuck I want. I mean, it's my fucking bike. My fucking money. I'll use what the fuck I want. I mean, what the hell's the problem with a lot of people? Like the people that like sit there, oh, you can't use a 20-inch bike for this. It won't shift the weight around or anything. Well, that's bullshit too. I mean, these 20-inch frames are made almost 4 times stronger than any of those fucking other bikes. The 700C bikes, touring bikes, hybrid bikes are made so flimsy and weak that you just barely shift your weight and you just broke your fucking wheel. With these, I don't have to worry about that at all. I got more than enough spokes. I got strong axles. I don't have some stupid skewer that will come loose. I mean, everything is just so much better on this bike than what people say that they should be using. As far as the weight goes, I don't really care about the weight. And right now, I don't think this bike is over 30 pounds. Even with that bag and that freaking lock on there. That lock is like 2.5 pounds. I put the front bag on there with food, and the thing, I probably won't even exceed 30 pounds. So, whoever has a problem with me riding a bike like this, screw you. That's all I can say. Well, anyway, this is that BMX guy, and I'll post another video on showing the Swift bag soon, and maybe some other stuff on the back, and more thoughts on what to add. Anyway, thanks for watching.